I have a notion that is quite similar to Catholic guilt. If I'd made money another way, and I'm quite likely not to have, had I done something else, if I'd written computer programs or designed the sort of things that I would have been able to do, like traffic management systems, someone out there would have benefited, you know. Here, it's just a reassignation of money. It's only me and the stock market guy, not the derivatives guys, that don't do anything for anyone, you know. Arguably, I'm a complete waste of space, so it would be remiss not to do something, and yet it's arguable that this something was a huge long shot that came off. I think if you built 1,000 of these things, 10 of them would work. You'd be interviewing one of those 10 people, the other 990 would be ignored or be told that they were poor contributors to the community, when in fact, in terms of their intent, they're exactly the same as me. I mean, I could have written a book. I could have written a book on, you know, a new theory of museums that no one would ever have read. And by this time I was collecting contemporary art, so I had a whole bunch of art. I'd built a beach house and been working with a really good architect. So I was feeling like doing something a bit bigger might be fun. I built a museum to teach myself about museums, not to necessarily entertain anyone else. And I wasn't particularly thinking about the cultural or economic impact that it might have on the local or Australian community. It crossed my mind a few times, but it wasn't a goal. Certainly I thought that I wouldn't care what other people think, but I eventually realised that I care very much what other people think. I suspect that had everyone hated it, I would have been able to protect myself from the knowledge that I care, right? I would have been able to build up barriers that protected me. But in fact, this community is very positive about it. They call it our museum, and that's all very grand and wonderful, and I love it. So, I certainly read the reviews, and there aren't many that are negatives, but the few that are have caused me some irritation. I didn't know that they were going to. It's not really the vision of one man. This is an industrial scale museum. A lot of people are involved. I certainly know what I want, but there are some 200 staff here, so I wouldn't like to be represented as this being either a fiefdom or any of its success being completely attributable to me, because that just isn't the case. The likelihood is that most of the stuff that I show here, with the possible exception of the antiquities, in 50 years won't have any merit to anyone. Most art vanishes without a trace, you know. It becomes relevant for one of two reasons, either because it creates its own space by generating notoriety, or because it happens to reflect a value system that is maintained. So what are the chances of one of those two things happening? Pretty low. So, 1 in 100,000 artworks. I wouldn't like to bet on any particular artwork that I've displayed here being of any interest to anyone in 100 years. At the moment, if I die, they can't close it down. It's too important to the community. But they also probably can't fund it, right? So I leave them a dilemma. I don't want to leave that. I want it to be fully funded internally, and that might mean having Mona shops, or I've even got some ideas for, like, I would like to build a science museum in a much larger city, use a lot of art, but build something that makes money, package them all together. I want to leave a legacy where this thing at least covers its own costs and therefore can stay open. But I didn't care about that at all. When I first built it, I was thinking, well, if I lose, in 10 years, if I get sick of it, we'll close it down.